There is a moment in Martian Child where a man, grieving and adrift, asks a boy who believes he is from Mars a simple, devastating question. What's it like up there? The boy's reply, quiet, doesn't just describe a fictional planet. It names the hollow, soundless space left behind by profound loss, a void both characters are desperately trying to fill. One with memories, the other with an elaborate extraterrestrial fiction. On its surface, Martian Child presents as a modest, heartwarming drama about a widowed science fiction writer, David Gordon, adopting a troubled, eccentric boy named Dennis. But to dismiss it as merely sentimental is to miss its deeper, more resonant frequency. The film, directed by Menno Maes from a script by Seth Bass and Jonathan Tollins, based on a semi-autobiographical story by Data Gerald, is less about fixing a broken child and more about two fractured people recognizing their shared, orbiting loneliness. The film's production history is itself a story of patient gestation. David Gerald, a celebrated writer for Star Trek, the original series, and author of The Trouble with Tribbles, penned the original short story from his own experiences as a single gay man navigating the adoption process in the 1990s. This personal core gives the narrative an authenticity that transcends formula. The project spent years in development, with various directors attached, before finding its final form with Mijes, a filmmaker known for his visually thoughtful and character-driven approach. This lengthy development is felt in the film's deliberate pace and intimate focus. Cinematographer Robert D. Yeoman, known for his work with Wes Anderson, employs a palette that moves from the cool, sterile blues and grays of David's large, empty house and his writer's solitude to the gradually warming ambers and golds as Dennis's presence and his bizarre rituals begin to seep into the architecture of David's life. The visual language charts an emotional thaw. John Cusack's performance as David is a masterclass in restrained melancholy. He plays a man who constructs narratives for a living, yet is paralyzed by the one story he cannot rewrite: the death of his wife. His grief isn't explosive. It's a low hum in every scene, a weight in his posture. He engages with Dennis's Martian fantasy not as a problem to be solved, but as a narrative to be understood, a language he, as a storyteller, is uniquely equipped to decipher. And then there is Dennis, played with astonishing, unmannered conviction by Bobby Coleman. His belief that he is a Martian is not portrayed as mere childish imagination or psychological breakdown in a simplistic sense. It is a meticulously built survival system. The weighted suit, the box he sits in, the fear of sunlight. These are not symptoms, but safeguards. They are the literal and metaphorical armor a child creates to survive a world that has already proven too painful, too bright, too overwhelming. This is where the film's central theme crystallizes. The stories we tell ourselves to survive. David survives his grief by immersing himself in the distant, controlled worlds of science fiction. Dennis survives his trauma of abandonment and foster care by becoming literally alien, placing his origin and his identity safely out of this world's reach. Their connection begins not when David tries to cure Dennis of his delusion, but when he chooses to enter it. The film's most powerful sequences are these quiet negotiations of reality. When David brings Dennis a Mars rock, a painted brick, or discusses Martian photosynthesis, he is not humoring a child. He is speaking his native tongue, the language of myth and metaphor, to build a bridge. He accepts Dennis's terms because, on some level, he understands them. His own life is a kind of orbit around a lost center of gravity. The supporting characters, like David's skeptical sister, Joan Cusack, and his pragmatic friend, Amanda Peet, represent the gravitational pull of conventional Earth logic, a push for normalization, for therapy aimed at dismantling the fantasy. The film's tension arises not from whether Dennis is really from Mars, but from whether David's unconventional, empathetic approach, this meeting of fictions, can create a stable family where conventional methods have failed. Menno Mages directs these emotional maneuvers with a delicate touch. He avoids broad comedy or easy tears. The humor is wry and character-based, often stemming from the collision of David's writerly mind with the practical absurdities of parenthood. The drama is earned through small, accumulated moments of trust. Dennis removing a single glove, then later the goggles, then finally standing in the sun. Each act a terrifying leap of faith out of the protective box. The film's climax is characteristically understated. The crisis point involves not spaceships or grand revelations, but a school science fair and a misplaced, all-important light bulb. Dennis's Martian identity, his entire protective fiction, is tied to this object. Its loss triggers a panic that is visceral because it represents the collapse of his world. David's solution is not to find a replacement bulb, but to help Dennis rebuild the project to reaffirm the fiction's validity on their shared terms. In its final act, Martian Child performs a subtle, beautiful inversion. As Dennis begins to tentatively accept a place on Earth, it is David who seems to fully arrive, emerging from the orbit of his grief. The family they form is not a traditional one, but a constructed one, built from mutual loss, shared language, and chosen belonging. Dennis may never fully relinquish his Martian identity, and the film wisely doesn't demand that he does. It remains a part of him, a foundational story. The concluding image is profoundly moving in its simplicity. David and Dennis, now officially father and son, playing catch in the backyard at dusk. The weighted suit is gone. The box is a discarded toy. The act of throwing a ball back and forth, a fundamental earthly ritual of connection, becomes their new shared language, no less meaningful than their earlier talks of Mars. It is a quiet, hard-won victory of gravity over orbit. Martian Child endures not as a flashy piece of cinema, but as a deeply felt meditation. It belongs to a subgenre of science fiction that is less concerned with aliens out there and more with the alien feelings in here, the isolation of grief, the otherness of trauma, the strange, terrifying project of building a life with another person. It argues that family is less a biological fact and more a collaborative story, a narrative two people agree to tell and keep telling together. In a cinematic landscape often shouting about superheroes and cosmic wars, Martian Child offers a different kind of space epic. It is the story of two lonely celestial bodies, each trapped in their own painful orbit, who slowly, carefully alter their trajectories until they find a shared rotation. They create a new system, a small, warm world of their own making, where the stories we tell to survive gradually become the stories that allow us, finally, to live. Thank you for watching until the end. We pour our passion into every single video essay, exploring the stories behind the movies we all love. If you stumbled upon this video by chance, there is a very high probability you might never see our channel again in your feed. So please take a moment to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and ring the bell. We are actively growing this community of cinema lovers, and your support is what helps us make our content better and more insightful every single day. Let's explore the magic of filmmaking together. See you in the next one.